Welcome into the Saints post-game show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez, joined by New Orleans Saints senior writer John DeShazier. We'll be joined shortly by head coach Sean Payton and quarterback Drew Brees. The New Orleans Saints have just defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14 and are now headed to the NFC Championship against the Rams next week. JD, this is why you're the seasoned vet and I'm the rookie, because you didn't panic at all. I was looking at you the whole time and I was like, JD, here we go to Sean Payton right now in the press room.
It's a hard-fought game, and first thing you'd say is tip your hat to Philadelphia. Man, those guys came in, brought the fight to us early, and really put us in a hole. Our guys fought back defensively in the second half. We were outstanding. Obviously, it didn't seem like there was many drives because the time of possession felt like one of the quarters was just that early drive. But we made enough plays. Wasn't a perfect game. Certainly there are a lot of things that we'll have to clean up. But most importantly, we got the win. And, against, defending champions. And that means something, when you're able to beat a team like that. So any questions? Look, I thought there were a handful of swings in the momentum. For us, that was a big one, making the first down on the fake punt, turning that into points. We had some tough calls go against us tonight, and it's hard to look at each or any one of the calls, but we fought through that. And so I think probably when we watch this tape, there's going to be probably 4 or 5 of those key swings early on. They went against us, but that's not unusual in the postseason. And we've played from behind quite a bit this season and been able to come back. And this was, obviously an important one.
Coach, can you talk about your defense after they were 14 points and then shut?
Yeah, like I said, I thought, man, we did a great job of getting off the field on third down. I thought they ran the ball fairly efficiently early, Philadelphia that is, and then, there was that one long drive where, we ate a lot of the clock up, and so it felt like we were into the fourth quarter fairly quick, but they were fantastic. Well, look, it's part of one of the things you're wanting to do, and yet the score still the score still wasn't, it was close the whole game. We were trying to get in position there late to get a field goal, and, man, we weren't able to come up with it and put them on the field again for another drive. And fortunately, we came up with the interception. So it was a good team win. Yeah, listen, as a coach, you always look at it like, man, you want to start fast. We've started fast here before, and now, at some point, you got to, move on from it. But fortunately, we were able to and settle in.
Sean, what was your thought process on the fake punt? You're on your own 30-yard line.
Yeah, well, listen, each one of those is kind of calculated. Mike felt pretty good about the look we were getting. I trust Taysom a lot. He's a powerful runner. And so generally, the looks that are somewhat favorable also come with some risk. And but we felt, especially where we were in the game, and look, I know it was early in the game, and yet there was still similar to New York, if you will, where we needed to shift the momentum. And we were able to, fortunately, and take advantage of it. But it was really based on the looks we saw during the week.
Something you had in the game plan?
Oh, yeah.
In that situation?
Yes. Yes, it wasn't just, let's just try this in the first quarter. No, we spent a lot of time on it.
Sean, on that long drive, there were a lot of swings. I think you guys had 3 penalties go against you.
Well, in order to have 22 plays,
Right. Just the resiliency of your team.
well, it was a big the third down that Drew converts to Mike was huge. There were too many plays specifically, I think there were 4 penalties, if I'm not mistaken, but at least 3. And, we hung in there and fought through it. So that was encouraging. Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, we've been, in our league, it's there's going to be games where you fall behind, and we've played in a handful of those already, and I think there's great faith in both sides of the ball and the kicking game to weather any storm like that, and we were able to today.
You talk about your ability third down and second down. It was almost uncanny for you guys to get no matter what the down distance was.
Yeah. Well, look, we needed that last one, and we elected to run it. But ultimately, we felt like this game was going to be about situational football. We felt the red zone offense and defense was going to be important. We felt the third down offense and defense. And I thought in the second half we got off the field defensively on third down, and on offense, I thought we were able to convert some big ones, and especially the big one late in the game to Mike, because those relative to time of possession and what you're trying to achieve, those are significant.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a performance from Mike today, particularly on the scoring drive where I think it's second and 9 he picks up, or second and 7 he picks up 9, 11 he picks up 24 first, and 20.
He's got real strong hands in traffic. He's tough and competitive. Man, I mean, he's one of those players that believes he can, make those type of plays, and Drew did a great job of finding them. Those were significant plays that really changed the direction of a game. No, listen, we're right at that. We got a quick peek as to what we might get defensively, and so you think about a jump ball maybe, or and then when we kind of weighed everything where we were at, we felt good about just taking the field goal. Yeah, listen, there's a lot that you get from this team offensively, a lot of motion, some RPOs. They do a good job of spraying the ball around. The quarterback's been outstanding. It's hard to get to him. He made a few throws that were just, unbelievable. But I did think we were able to push the pocket a little later as the game went on, and I did think that helped. We tried to find a way to disrupt the passing game, and you can do that either with your rush or outside. And I thought we were able to get our hands on some receivers. But it's a talented group.
Coach, the aggression to get that touchdown pass on the fourth down as opposed to being right there, you feel like the touchdown was a must.
I didn't feel like it was a must, but we felt pretty good about 2 or 3 of the calls we had. Unfortunately, it worked out, but we felt pretty confident, and it was calculated, and yet it was on that drive where I think the momentum that was significant, to get that 7.
Your aggressiveness, your players play off of that. That's the message you try to send to those guys.
Sometimes, Ed, it's maybe meant for that. Other times, man, there's a lot that goes into, we play this team, and you have to go in with the mindset that scoring is going to be at a premium, and so your risk factor might go up a little bit, and then there's some weeks where you might be less tolerant for that. I think a lot of it's been depending on who we're playing, and trying to be smart also. Yeah, always, man. The seasons he's been having, it's gut wrenching. He's played so well for us, and we'll see where he's at.
How big was it on that same thing to have a lot of stuff up, and even Tyeler Davison with the game he had?
Yeah. Look, it's unfortunately one of the challenges this late in the season, and I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud of that locker room. They fought through a lot, and managed to get the win. And again, it's these are tough games.
How much more difficult has it been all as the transition process in the postseason moving forward to the next week versus the regular season?
Well, I would say the challenge is just within the schedule, protecting the routine, 8 teams went to 4, but the amount of people that cover those teams didn't change any. And so just do the division. And so protecting the schedule, staying on the routine, and then quickly diving into a real good Ram team that we played, seems like a long time ago, but and getting ready to play that game. I haven't even gotten to that yet. I mean, obviously, when you play the last game, you kind of know who the opponent's going to be, but there's so much focus on the game you're playing that, it's getting ahead of it a little bit. I don't listen. It can impact you relative to the number of snaps played, but most importantly, it impacts your own defense and their rest, and then the opponent you're playing, who's getting that many snaps. I mean, that's a lot, but a lot had to happen for that to take place, and regretfully, there's those penalties that hurt you, but fortunately, we were able to overcome them. No, we have meetings the night before games. So, I mean, the game's on in the training room, but I hadn't. We'll look at it on coach's tape.
Coach, without speaking specifically to the Rams, can you talk about this excitement of having one game in your city you're building to build a Super Bowl?
Well, listen, we think it's a tremendous advantage to play here. Man, our fans were fantastic tonight. Communication becomes difficult. We've been on both sides of it. We played some tough road venues where it's real loud, Minnesota, Seattle, and we played home here. And so, that's one of the reasons you fight so hard for the best seed you can, so that you have a chance to play, with the noise in your favor. So we got a lot of work to do. Again, it's a real good team we beat today, and the great championship team that you can't say enough about them. Well, listen, anytime you get a delay game and then a timeout there, there's an attrition to that noise, and I'd like to think that was the case. Look, I've saw 12 men in a huddle before on an important down, and so it's all of the communication that strains you, not just on one play, but throughout the course of the game. They're all big right now. I mean, right? In other words, it's a game to advance, and it's a playoff game. It's not a best of 7. It's 3 hours, and so they're all important. And I would bet more often than not, playoff games a lot of the times involve teams that are playing each other again, whether they were division teams or whether you just look at the numbers. So. But that does seem like it was quite a ways back. All right. Thank you.
JD, Michael Thomas had such a good game today. I think I'm just going to permanently do this for the rest of the show. I've been working out lately,
That's
so
okay.
No, I think it's a good idea. Just an update for our fans out there while I continue to do this. The Saints are in the locker room partying. They have disco lights. It looks like a club in the locker room. We know that they have their infamous locker room celebrations, and the pictures tomorrow are just going to be fabulous, if they even get any pictures, because there's disco lights and it's chaos. But JD, as I was saying before, you're the seasoned vet. I'm the rookie, because I was panicking and you were not. You knew that the Saints had control over this game the entire time. Maybe not in the beginning, but what was the turning point for the Saints in this game?
Really, it turns out to be the Marshon Lattimore interception, the first one on the deep pass, and I thought that gave the Saints a little bit of momentum. And then they still needed a little kick start, so they get a 4th down conversion from Taysom Hill. And then they still need a little bit because they get a 3rd and 20 conversion from Michael Thomas. And then they still need a little something because they had to score a touchdown on that 4th down, 4th and 2 on the pass to Keith Kirkwood. But I thought that the interception really flipped it because the defense was struggling and the offense had nothing going. And the defense was able to get off the field, to create a turnover and put the offense not in great position because they still needed to drive about 80 yards to do it, but still they got them the ball and got off the field and got out of a scoring position. And I thought that really flipped the game for the Saints.
Well, you had to talk about the Marshon Lattimore interception, and then we can't talk about that without the fake punt from Taysom Hill, which was completely pivotal for the Saints. We've seen it time and time again from Taysom Hill, but for the other team, what does he add? You can't expect him to do anything. It's just expect the unexpected if you're Taysom Hill.
Well, really the unexpected was the position of it. The Saints are fourth and 1 from their own 30. And you don't necessarily, I believe, think a team's going to go for it on a fake punt on 4th and 1 from their own 30 because of the ramifications if you don't get it. And then the offense isn't on the field. So, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm saying, well, I'm trying to hedge my bets because I really don't know if they're going to go for it. They're only down 14-0 at the time, so it's not like the game is hopelessly lost or they're 28-0 and they go for the fake right there. So I thought a little bit of surprise had to deal with it. But again, Taysom Hill, a strong runner. There's only a yard to gain. He's right there at the line of scrimmage. We know he runs tough between the tackles. He gets 4 yards instead of the 1, so they end up going on and scoring a touchdown. But I thought that was the pivotal thing, the element of surprise. Even though the Saints were in somewhat of a desperate situation because they needed to get a score, but 4th and 1 from your own 30, that's not something the average team's looking for.
The Saints went into halftime with a few 3-and-outs, a few big defensive stops for the Saints defense, and then they come out. Michael Thomas had a 1-yard touchdown reception from Taysom Hill. No.
From Drew.
From Drew.
Yeah, from Drew.
Excuse me. We had the Taysom Hill pass to Alvin Kamara that was called back because of the Andrews Peat penalty. That was difficult, but Michael Thomas just proves himself time and time again. Today, he broke the record for the most receiving yards in a single postseason game in Saints history. I believe he finished with 12 receptions and 141 yards. Absolutely phenomenal performance from Michael Thomas today.
171. And he shows why he's a first-team All-Pro, why he's a Pro Bowler, and why he's one of the premier receivers in the league. He converts a 3rd and 20 with a 20-yard catch. He converts a 2nd and 16 with a 20-yard catch. Down the stretch, he converts a 3rd and 13. Really, he's a guy who, if you want to play a man-to-man, the Saints are going to take those odds. And Drew Brees says, look, if there's one-on-one, I like our chances. And a lot of times if there's one-on-2, if it's Michael Thomas, he likes his chances. And Philly went with what they went with defensively. They felt like they were getting some pressure up front, and they were getting some pressure up front on Drew Brees. And yet, 28 of 38 for Drew Brees and the 12 catches for 171 yards for Michael Thomas. A phenomenal game. When they needed him to play big, he played huge.
We'll hear from Drew Brees here from the press conference in a little bit, but we have to talk about this Saints defense. Unfortunately, in the first quarter of the game, Sheldon Rankins, he has been outstanding for the Saints defense. It's heartbreaking to see him. Let's go to Marshon Lattimore at the podium.
It felt great. We won the game on our back, so we didn't get the first down on that on our last drive, and we were good. We stayed poised. We wanted it on us, so we got it done. Right. Yeah, we just had to settle down. It took us a minute to settle in and just play and execute everything we were doing. But once that second half came, I think they had like 50 passing yards in the second half. So, we really locked in, and we just turned up, man. We played with some swag today, in that second half. And I love, when we be like that. That means we're going to win if our defense is playing like that. So we was in cover 2, and the tight end did a wheel, so I had to carry that. And, I just went up and made a play. That's really it.
Down 14-0. Talking a lot about how you guys made adjustments defensively, specifically have a little bit more press, getting a little bit more Philly receivers.
We really didn't make too many adjustments. We just started playing better, and we was executing everything they were calling. So we didn't really make too many adjustments. We just knew we had to go in and play with some swag, and be physical with the receivers. That's it.
Coming from that, from that 14 point deficit can help you, your team in general, come in the future weeks?
Yeah, never count us out. We got Drew Brees as our quarterback. As long as the defense, hold us down, hold the team down, and we got Drew on the other side, we can win a lot of games like that. So that's what we locked in the second half, and they didn't get anything, and Drew did what he did, and that's why we came out with the win. So it goes both sides. It's a team game.
So you guys were always trying to be physical with them. You got more into the flow.
Yeah, we got more in the flow, man. We just calmed down, settled in. And that was the biggest thing. With the game plan, we just got to calm down and, execute everything that they gave us.
It seems like they'll feed off the crowd a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. It was probably the loudest I've heard the Dome. So, when we played Carolina last year, they were pretty loud, but this time, they were loud. And we love that. We love the crowd being in the game with us. And that just gives us, that extra push to, get the job done.
How surprised were you that Alshon Jeffrey dropped the ball in the final drive?
Things happen. Just like, last year in crunch time when Marcus Williams missed a tackle, that's one in a lifetime thing. Alshon Jeffrey is a good receiver with great hands, and, things happen. And we capitalized off of that. So, we were feeling good about it. We great about that.
What was the difference between the Eagles earlier in the year?
They just played with passion today, and we knew they were going to do that because they thought we ran the score up last time we played them. It was 48-7. So we knew they was going to come out. They were going to come out fast and try to give us their best shot early. And once we settled in, we started shutting it down, and we started playing our game on the offense and defense.
What is Sean Payton's recommendation to go 4 for 1 on the fake punt, 2 for the defense?
Oh, man, we wanted them to go for it, I promise you. Like, we on the sideline, go for it. Because, we was going to hold it down. And we have faith in ourselves. And even if we didn't make it, we were going to try to hold them. It was in their territory, in our territory. So they had 3 already. But, we was going to try to stop them as much as we can to force that.
Anything else from Marshon? Thank you. We'll have Drew in just a second.
We heard Marshon say that the defense started slow. It took them a while to get into the rhythm of things, find themselves. But again, his interception in the first half, it sparked a fake punt first down from Taysom Hill. It sparked a Keith Kirkwood touchdown after a 3-and-out from the Saints defense. The Saints defense just completely turned around starting in the first half. What was the difference maker for that Saints defense? I feel like they took Nick Foles completely out of it.
I think they just settled down. They got a little bit of pressure. They didn't get any sacks, but they were able to get some pressure. They were able to disrupt the receivers, get them off their routes a little bit. Philly ends up with 250 yards in the game. They probably had 150 of those in the first quarter alone. The Saints really settled down, and I thought they did a really nice job defending the run, which they always do, but they didn't allow the Eagles to get into the run game, and then they were able to, again, disrupt those receivers with their hands a little bit and kind of get into them a little bit, stick close to them and get some pass breakups, the 2 interceptions. I thought they did a phenomenal job in the secondary. Again, they don't get the sacks, but they did get the rushes. Cam Jordan bats a pass. We saw him get to him a couple times. And again, just throw him off his rhythm a little bit. Even though Nick Foles likes to throw it really quickly, they were able to, I think, get him off his timing just enough.
And that Marshon Lattimore to end the game kind of put the icing on the cake for the Saints after that missed field goal from Will Lutz, something that we really haven't seen a whole lot of this season. But you come out of the second half and you're the Saints. You come out with kind of a chip on your shoulder. You're down a few points. And then you go on an 18-play, 11-minute drive for the Saints. What did that do? Did that spark anything for the Saints? Did it just take a lot of time off the clock? What exactly did that do for the Saints?
I think that drive won the game. That drive, it didn't break Philadelphia, but it certainly gave Philadelphia all the doubt that needed to be given to Philadelphia, and it gave the Saints all the confidence in the world offensively and defensively, because defense stands on the sideline when you're going on an 11-minute, 29-second drive, and they're over there watching that offense convert time and time and time again on that drive. And that's a championship caliber drive. You don't see 18 plays, 92 yards, 11 and a half minutes essentially. They basically used the entire quarter on one touchdown drive to take the lead in that game. And basically, Philadelphia wasn't broken, but the Saints had exactly what they needed because they pitched a shutout from the first quarter on, and then offensively, that was enough to basically win the game. That turned out to be the game-winning drive.
You said that the Saints needed to find their offensive rhythm in your keys to the game, that Alvin Kamara needed to find his rhythm. Mark Ingram, Ted Ginn Jr., who we didn't see too much out of, but he did make a few big plays. Michael Thomas, do you think the Saints are kind of getting back to their beginning of the regular season ways? Because we saw them fall off a little bit at the end of the regular season. Are we seeing them kind of find themselves again?
I think they picked it up for the final three quarters. That first quarter was just something that's unreal. We're not accustomed to seeing this team play that way for a quarter. But I think the final three quarters, the Saints wind up with 400-plus yards of offense. They get the two touchdowns. I think they found themselves. Ted Ginn Jr., if you saw the game, you see what his presence means to this team in terms of loosening up defenses. Alvin Kamara gets the long touchdown catch, and it doesn't count, but he brings that element to you, and he runs for 71 yards for the game. Mark Ingram popped off a nice 36-yard run in this game. So I think we saw this team getting back to its roots offensively. You don't see it on the scoreboard in terms of points, but you did see the yards gained, and we saw some big chunk plays. And I think, if you look back at it, first play of the game is a Drew Brees interception.
Yeah.
If he gets it out 2 more yards, instead of an interception, it's a 75-yard touchdown throw. So they're right on the cusp of being exactly where they want to be offensively. A misplay here or there, a blown assignment here and there. They had 11 penalties for 84 yards, and many of those, several of those being offensive holes on that offensive line. Things that can be cleaned up and I think will be cleaned up.
Before we go to Drew Brees in the press conference, can we touch on Keith Kirkwood? Keith Kirkwood scored one of the touchdowns in today's game. Just proves time and time again that he can make the big plays for Drew Brees. We all know that Drew is going to put it in his hands as long as he just turns around and puts his hands out. But again, time and time again, he makes the big plays for the Saints. What are your observations from him this year, an undrafted rookie?
Well, he's a big guy. He's intelligent. They like his ability to be able to play several spots. He runs a nice in and out route, and he's a big guy, so he gets his hands on the defender, and he's able to create a little bit of separation. But again, he's a guy who, if you're reliable, Drew Brees doesn't care who you are. If you get open, he's going to throw the ball to the open guy. And that play looked like it was for Kirkwood because that was the one-on-one situation. He had a height advantage, and he put it exactly where he needed to. He's come through in a lot of clutch situations. Again, you don't have to be drafted by the Saints. They're going to play a guy who shows he has the ability to play. And they don't care where you come from. They just want to get you in the building, give you an opportunity. Kirkwood, one of those guys, they got in the building, liked what they saw as an undrafted rookie, and here he is advancing to the NFC Championship game with an opportunity to make some plays against the Rams next week.
Well, once again, the New Orleans Saints defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14. In case you missed the game, let's go ahead and watch some highlights from today's game.
2nd and 8. Saints drop in coverage, only a 3-man rush. Still pressure comes. Foles going deep. It is intercepted. Lattimore. Thomas Morstead has punted more in this first half, and it's a fake, and it's a keeper, and it's a first down. So for 4th and goal, Brees looking to throw. Throws a fade. It's caught for a touchdown. That is Kamara in the backfield. Brees stands in, fires far side. There's a complete yard line. They're almost there. Brees, pressure, stands, and there's Kamara. First catch of the day, a big one. Stays on his feet inside the 16 for a first down. It's Brees. Steps up and rocks. Instead will throw. It's caught. It's a first down. They're going to throw from Michael Thomas. Coming this side. It's going to be a touchdown. I get this off with a 2-minute warning. A little surprise. Foles back, throws. Intercepted. Went right through Jeffrey's hands. It's Lattimore.
JD, as we mentioned, Sheldon Rankins went down in the first quarter with a leg injury. Of course, we don't want to speculate. Nothing is confirmed yet, but he did go down with a leg injury. He was carted off the field. What exactly does that mean for this New Orleans Saints defensive line?
Well, I think that's your second most disruptive defender behind Cameron Jordan. He had a huge season, 8 sacks, which topped his first 2 seasons combined. He had 6 sacks in those first 2 seasons. So you lose that playmaking ability out of Sheldon Rankins, and he plays the run well. He plays the pass well. He's one of the dominating forces in the league right now, if you ask me, in terms of defensive tackles. So you lose that. Fortunately for the Saints, they play a 3-man rotation in there. You have David Onyemata to step in with Tyeler Davison, but there's a reason Sheldon Rankins is or was a first-round pick, and the reason he had the season that he had. The spin moves that he's able to create can't be duplicated. So they're going to need some big things out of David Onyemata. Obviously, Tyeler Davison's going to have to play well, and then Taylor Stallworth is going to have to come in and play well because now they lose a starter and one of the better players in the NFL at that position.
Marcus Davenport also filled a role for the Saints today. Tyeler Davison, of course, like you said, stepped up in a major way for this defensive line. If you're a Saints fan and you were watching at home or here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and you saw Andrus Peat today, what exactly happened? Was it a few flukes? Was it, calls from the refs that didn't go exactly our way? What was it about Andrus Peat that he just had a target on his back today?
Well, a couple of them seem to be somewhat curious calls. Now, I hate to blame things on the officials because they call what they call, but Andrus Peat does have a hand injury. He does have a heavy taping on that hand. And so I hate to say it this way, but he probably can't use his hands as offensive linemen are accustomed to using them in terms of getting inside. No, getting inside and maybe being able to hold a little bit and that kind of thing. Now, he was going against Fletcher Cox, who is one of the 2-3 best defensive tackles in the NFL. So that's not going to be an easy day at the office for anybody. So hopefully he will learn from this, take this experience, wash it away. You win the game. You get an opportunity to come back next week. But Aaron Donald's on deck now.
Ooh.
Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, two guys who are pretty formidable in their own right. So he's going to have to wipe it away, though. We know he can play better than that. He has played better than that. We hope it's the hand injury and it's something that he'll be able to compensate for next week because he's going to have to be better when he's lined up against a guy like Aaron Donald or if he's lined up against Ndamukong Suh along that Rams defensive line.
Exactly. Well, as we know, the Rams will have to come here to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome where they lost to the Saints team here on this field. What about that game did the Saints do so well, and can they carry any of that over into this NFC Championship, or is there new challenges that present themselves? What exactly do you see from the Los Angeles Rams?
Well, the Saints had just about a dream offensive first half against the Rams. They scored 35 on them in that first half.
Yep.
Nothing went wrong for them offensively, and I think the halftime score was 35-10. So it winds up being 45-35 as the final score. They did a lot of what they wanted to do, and then they were able to muscle up and score when they needed to down the stretch to win the game. But the Rams are going to come in pretty confident. I mean, they've been able to move the ball against just about everybody this season. They have lost Cooper Kupp, the receiver. That's huge for them offensively, but they do have Todd Gurley, and he's a problem. And now C.J. Anderson, that running back, who's a significant problem, been playing extremely well for them. But again, the Saints have been playing run defense as well as anybody in the NFL. They do it again here today. We know that they're able to rush the passer. Even though they weren't able to get Foles on the ground, they were able to get some disruptions and get a few hits in there. And we've seen what they've done in the secondary in terms of improvement. I thought they played one of the better games in the secondary that they played this season in terms of coverage. So I think the Saints are ready for the task. They already had them here. You can't ask for anything more than to have them at your place for the NFC Championship game.
Well, the Saints certainly have to make this Rams team one-dimensional. If they take away the run from Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson, do you think the Saints will have, well, of course they'll have a better chance, but do you think their odds of winning increase?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you get a team one-dimensional, now you can dictate to them.
Right.
Now you know exactly where the quarterback's going to be and what he's going to be doing. He's going to be throwing all the time. So now you design your pass rushes to be able to get to him. And now you've got to be able to get your hands on receivers and get those guys out of rhythm. Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods are two phenomenal receivers. I think both of them had more than 1,200 yards receiving this season. But here against the Saints, again, the Saints had some success against those guys in that first half. Can they duplicate that again here? Because they're going to have to score against the Rams. I don't know if 20 points is going to hold up. I don't know if defensively they're going to be able to hold the Rams down to 14 as they did here today. But we know the Saints are capable of scoring offensively. But they're going to have to get it going offensively. And defensively, again, I don't know if the Rams are going to be one of those teams that they're going to be able to hold down that way. It could be an offensive game. I thought today might be a little bit more offensive game for the Saints.
I would say the same.
They were able to get the yards going, weren't able to get the points. So they were a couple of plays away from maybe having another couple of touchdowns. But they're going to need to be able to cash in. Field goals, I don't think, are going to beat the Rams, even here at home in the NFC Championship game. But we do know this one thing. The Saints have been playing championship caliber defense for month and a half, 2 months now, and the offense, we hope, will catch up to it again, and they won't be the team that's been scoring, 40-plus here in home games. But, I'd settle for 31, 35.
Well, I feel like Michael Thomas has been the most trustworthy player for this Saints offense. When you talk about throwing it up, he's meeting every pass, he's going to get it. I expected at least a little bit of a better performance from Ted Ginn Jr. tonight. He's coming off of an injury. It's going to take him a while to get things back. But what is it going to take to get someone on the other side of Michael Thomas, who's kind of got a fire under themselves, that is able to go out and get those balls and be hungry exactly like Michael Thomas is?
Well, but I think Ted's presence is felt from the situation of when you see Michael Thomas be able to get free for a 3rd and 20, when you've got to have protection long enough for Drew Brees to be able to throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, somebody's got to divert attention away because Michael Thomas is a favorite guy. If you're talking 3rd and 20, you're usually thinking about Ted Ginn Jr. running deep. And if Ted Ginn Jr. is able to clean it out underneath and allow Michael Thomas to come in behind him or get on that other side and divert attention over there, maybe a double team, then that allows for some of the things that Michael Thomas is able to do.
Hate to interrupt you. We're going to go to Drew Brees in the press
than I am.
conference.
Yeah. Listen, we found a bunch of ways to win during the season. Every game kind of stood alone, but many of them came down to 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, second half type comebacks where, and it took everybody, and it took maybe a big play on defense or a big play on offense or a big play on special teams to kind of turn the tide. And but they were all great team victories, and looks like that's carried over into the playoffs. Obviously, we didn't start this game the way that we wanted to. They jumped out to a 14-point lead. But, listen, we were calm, we were poised. We knew we were going to get things going, but obviously had to do that quickly. We were able to narrow the gap 14-10 at halftime, and then I think the turning point was really that 23-play drive in the 3rd quarter that lasted 11 and a half minutes and kind of took us from our own 8-yard line to get a touchdown. I was just told that we actually gained 117 yards on that drive. I'm not sure if that's a record because of the penalties that kept setting us back. And so, yeah, we went on a 117-play drive, or a 117-yard drive in the 3rd quarter to take the lead and then really didn't look back. I think that was the turning point in the game. I think, the crowd was with us all day. They were awesome. Dome field advantage, but defense played phenomenal as well, and we made enough plays down the stretch to get the win.
Particularly that drive, you have a trust with a receiver, unlike Michael Thomas, with another guy.
I mean, I've been very fortunate to have played with some great ones, and you spend a lot of time together to develop that trust, that confidence, that chemistry, and but it takes time on task. And we've had a run with some great ones here in New Orleans, but obviously over the last 3 years with Mike, I've just got so much trust and confidence in him. And what you see on game day is what I see in practice every day. It's not like the guy just turns it on for game day. He practices that way every day in practice. So that same intensity, attention to detail, that fire, passion, competitive drive. We try to put ourselves in those moments in practice. And then when game day shows up and we're making those same plays, it's no surprise to us. And certainly it's no surprise to anybody on this team to watch him do what he's been able to accomplish this year and what he was able to do today. He's a big-time player who wants to be the guy to make the plays when you need him most, and he did that today.
Let's talk a little bit about Michael Thomas and Ingleson. There's a little bit talking right now. Is he the best wide receiver in the NFL?
Well, I think there's certainly an argument. Listen, there's a lot of great wide receivers in this league, but certainly he deserves to be in the conversation.
Did they double him less in this game?
Yeah, they're you go back to the first time we played them here, and I think it was a much different game plan with how they were handling him, and we just had to be patient. Other guys made plays, and then finally his opportunities kind of came towards the end of that game. But it was a bit of a different approach today. for one reason or another. There were times where he was getting, attention, more attention than others, but I'd say for the most part it was, you just had to pick and choose your moments, but felt like there was more opportunities today.
Did the fake punt surprise you?
The fake punt?
Did that surprise you at all, or what do you think that did for the direction of the game?
Well, we converted 2 4th downs on that drive in order to go down and get our first touchdown of the game, right? So that was huge. Again, a special teams play that continues to drive and allows us to go down and get points. Just felt like we had a good play, and sure enough, we got the look that we wanted and got the touchdown. Yeah. Well, they're calculated risks. It's not like we're just flying by the seat of our pants out there. It's these are things that we talk about. These are conversations that we have. Critical situations. How's the team playing us? How's the tempo of the game going? I think we all felt like, we needed 7 there. And again, if you don't have a play you like, you don't go for it. But you have a play you like, you go for it. Make it happen.
Can you talk a little about that 3rd and 16 play, how big that was?
Was that at the end of the game there, the last drive, or which one? Oh, the one to Mike. Yeah, it was a huge play. Unfortunately, we had a bunch of penalties that set us back, a couple holding calls and some other stuff that just, really put us behind the chains. But that was a big play by him, kept that drive going, and again, turning point in the game, that drive, just to 23 plays and to possess it for 11 and a half minutes. It's pretty much the entire 3rd quarter, but got us the lead, which I think to be down 14 and now all of a sudden to take the lead in the 3rd quarter, it was just a huge momentum shift and a tipping point.
What do you attribute to the number of penalties during the 117-yard
Drive? Well, I'm trying to think what all of them were. I think we had a couple holding calls, both on run plays and pass plays, and so it's just fundamentals, attention to detail. Listen, they're a great pass rush too. So they got some guys that could rush the passer. And
I'm thinking about for you to start first quarter. It seemed like both sides of the ball.
Yeah, listen, that's not the way we want to start. So call it what you want. I'm not here going to say, hey, the 3 weeks off and all that stuff. I mean, listen, we had to get some guys healthy. That was the most important thing. But that's not the way we wanted to start. But to overcome that, I think is the story here.
Drew, in 2009, you had some big interceptions that saved games in the postseason. Today, just what Marshon did
Yeah.
on that last drive.
Yeah. Well, man, I feel like our defense on a couple occasions this year, has come up with some big turnovers at some critical times that were huge plays in the game, either sealed the deal or set up game winners. So they deserve a ton of credit. Obviously, Marshon, I know the first interception I think he makes, and then we take that, we go down and score after that drive or on that drive. That was a great individual effort there. And then at the end of the game, just listen, if you're in the right place at the right time, good things happen. So when you talk about coaching defensive football, you talk about population of the ball, you're talking about eyes on the quarterback and just being in the right place, at the right time. And he was definitely that today.
Based on what breaks happen in football, you guys had an unlucky one last year in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You get one today. Do you feel like you're playing this game a long time? Do you feel like those kind of things eventually even up?
I just know this. If you do things the right way long enough, good things happen, right? And you play this game long enough, you're going to be a part of some crazy stuff. You're going to be on the winning side of some of that crazy stuff, and you're probably going to be on the losing side of some of that crazy stuff. Unfortunately, losing side last year. Fortunately, winning side this year.
Back in an NFC Championship game, do you let yourself appreciate that just a little bit right now?
A lot of work to do. So certainly very appreciative. Love the opportunity that we have to play that game here in front of our home fans. We've always said it, the regular season just puts you in a position to have this opportunity, right? Got a great team coming to town, right? And you go back to our regular season matchup with those guys, just had a feeling that obviously I knew what our goals were, and we hope to be in this position, and I had a feeling that they would be as well. So they're a great football team that has had an incredible season, and obviously this should be a great football game.
Four teams are left down the league are the four high-scoring teams in the NFL this season. How indicative of that is that to you of how this season has been played and how the game is played as a whole?
That's an interesting stat. I think there's some. Well, you gotta score points to win, but you got to stop people to win too. And so I think that certainly the defenses deserve to be talked about as well. But playoff football is what we all aspire to have the opportunity to play. And you look at both sides of the bracket, AFC, NFC. It's the 1 and 2 seeds, right? So I think in many cases it's probably the guys that everybody thought would be here for one reason or another. We're grateful that we have this opportunity and look forward to the week of preparation to get ready for these guys.
Hey, Drew, sometimes in a big game like this, big stakes, it's human nature for players, coaches to play not to lose, kind of tighten up. What is it about Sean that is immune to that, seems like, and how much do y'all feed off of that winning?
Yeah, it's that play to win mentality. It's that aggressive mentality. I've been with Sean long enough now to say that he's always been like that. From 06 until now, I think he's just. I think it's something that he knows that the offense and the team feeds off of. Just like calling the onside kick in the Super Bowl, right? Ambush. It was not a matter of if we were going to call it, it was when, right? And so when you just get that in guys' minds that, hey, we are going to be aggressive, we are going to play to win, it allows guys to relax and cut it loose. And I know he puts a lot of trust in me, when we do dial that stuff up to make good decisions, and if it's not there, we check it down, we'll come back and call it again. But just that whole mentality of, hey, we're going to fake a punt, or we're going to, kick an onside kick, or whatever it might be, it definitely develops a mindset amongst our team.
Drew, we're used to seeing some maybe short and intermediate routes with Taysom Hill. What is the deep shot call to?
Well, I'm mad at myself. I waited too long to see it before I threw it. I should have just, I felt him running by the guy. But, yeah, Taysom, he's our Swiss Army knife. He can do a little bit of everything. I'm bummed that they took a touchdown away from him, because that was a great throw to Alvin and really a great designed play. And what's even more impressive is he had run that little post the play before that. So he, sprints 60 yards down the field, sprints back, and then throws a 50-yard touchdown to Alvin that gets called back. And that was part of our 117-yard drive. But, yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud.
Drew, at the end of that drive, did you and his father celebrating with Mike, or did you just go back to the sideline? I noticed a lot of guys just didn't even bother stuff.
Oh, everybody was gassed. I mean, I wasn't gassed. I wasn't blocking or hitting or having to catch any balls, but no, that was a fulfilling drive. I mean, that was, man, when you can, number one, those were the points that gave us the lead and then allowed us to maintain the lead, thereafter. But 23 plays, 117 yards, 11 and a half minutes off the clock. That just was the tipping point. It turned the tide in that whole game, and I think, from that point on, we knew everything after that was just building a lead.
Drew, you kind of touched upon it, but you played on some really good teams since the Super Bowl. It's taken 9 years to get back to this point. Does that just speak to how difficult it is?
Yeah, it is. It is. And there's a lot of good football teams out there, a lot of great players, a lot of great coaches, and every year is a little bit different, right? We've gotten close. We've had a couple other moments where I thought we'd be back here, but yeah, it just goes to show how difficult it is, and so we certainly appreciate that opportunity.
Going back to that long drive, I think on that third down play, Michael Thomas, you had so many yards you could have ran the ball. Did you ever think about it for 1 second?
Running?
Yes.
Well, if you just look at the odds, right? If you were in Vegas and you were saying, what are the chances if I took off and ran that I get that first down? I would say 0.5% chance of getting that. Whereas if I throw it to Mike Thomas, the odds probably go up to 60, 70%. So I'm no dummy, but it sounds like the throw it to Mike Thomas odds are a little bit better.
Drew, a week from today against the Rams, 7 days from now, what does a game like that, I know it's early, come down to when everything comes down to it?
Say that one more time.
What a week from today when we face the Rams,
Yeah.
what will that mean this early in your mind think it will come down to?
Listen, it always comes down to execution. It always comes down to, blocking, tackling, making good decisions, taking advantage of opportunities when you get them. Listen, they're a really good football team. We knew that when they came in here mid-season, and like I said, I had a feeling that we'd be seeing these guys again. Obviously, we aspired to be here. They aspired to be here, and so here we are. Yeah, there's no question. There's no question. Yeah, while we are excited to be moving on and have the opportunity to host the NFC Championship game here, not a ton of satisfaction for me, and I think for a lot of guys, as to the way that we started this game and the way we played at times. It's going to need to be a lot better, and we expect that of ourselves. We've expected that the entire season. And it all comes down to the work week and the preparation that goes into it. But I love our team. I love the way we battle, and we'll be ready.
Ron Olmstead, he held up well today?
Yeah. I think he held up great.
Drew, you had more time in the pocket, in my opinion, than expected. What do you attribute that to? Things looked like you were
Well, I think everything was a little bit better in the second half. I think once we got our feet underneath us and we just started playing better football, better execution. When you can sustain drives, you typically begin to wear down a defense a little bit, and maybe they don't have quite as much juice rushing the passer as they did, if in the first couple plays of the drive. All right, guys. Thanks.
Welcome back into the Saints postgame show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez, joined by John DeShazier. The New Orleans Saints once again have defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14. JD, before I hit my dance,
Lord help us.
you know you like it. Any final thoughts?
No, this is what you play the season for. As Bill Parcells once famously said, this is why you lift all them weights. They went and did exactly what you hope a team would do. You want to stop all that?
No.
Okay. No, they went and did exactly what you hope a team will do. They seized home field. They have the home field advantage in the NFC Championship game. The Saints are exactly where a lot of people forecast they would be at the beginning of the season. And so this is where all the hard work pays off, and this is where it all culminates, hopefully next Sunday, in a victory over the Rams. But you can't get the victory if you don't put yourself in position. And that's exactly what they've done.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to that game next week here in the Mercedes Superdome, where the New Orleans Saints will take on the Los Angeles Rams for the NFC Championship here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome at 2 p.m. Once again, the New Orleans Saints defeated the Philadelphia Eagles today 20-14. For Caroline Gonzalez, John DeShazier, thanks for joining us.
Dance one more time before we. There we go. Okay.
Thanks for joining us for the Saints postgame show presented by Verizon.